Shabbat Shalom to everyone. This is Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos. It's the last Shabbat of the year. We're on the precipice of 5786. And it's Parashat Nitzavim, which Roly knows particularly well because it's his bar mitzvah parasha.
A few years ago.
How many years at this point?
A few.
And this parasha, in so many ways, is read through that lens, which it's read right before Rosh Hashanah, so it is looked at through the eyes of standing on the precipice and with regard to tshuva. And in fact, there's a section that's called Parashat Tshuva in the parasha, which is the verses that are beginning in chapter 30, which the word shuv appears 7 times in 10 verses. And that's actually where the pasuk that we're going to focus on this morning comes from. If on your sheet, we'll just read up until the pasuk that we're getting. When all these things befall you, the blessing and the curse that I have set before you, and you take them to heart. I'm on 1169. Amidst the various nations to which Adonai your God has banished you, and you return, hear the word shuv, to Adonai your God, you and your children heed God's command with all your heart and soul, just as I enjoin you upon this day. Then Adonai your God will restore your fortunes and take you again back in love. And God will bring you together again from all the peoples where Adonai your God has scattered you. And this is the verse that we're focusing on this morning, Pasuk 4. Im yehiyeh nirachacha biksei hashamayim misham yikabetzcha Adonai Elohecha umisham yikachecha. Even if your outcasts are at the ends of the world, from there Adonai your God will gather you. From there God will fetch you. So this is, if you read forward, there are many famous quotes in this section. Also, it's where Lo Bashamayim he comes a little later, that God is not, it is not too far from you, it is not in the heavens, it is not across the ocean. So this section of the parasha, in fact, the whole parasha is filled with very rich teachings that we're often, we are familiar with because they're so very powerful. This pasuk isn't necessarily one that we focus on most of the time, but Shneur Zalman of Liadi, the founder of Chabad Lubavitch, puts a particular spin on it. And so we're going to look at his teaching this morning, which focuses on the pasuk that I read. So we'll start with the pasuk. Even if your exile is at the farthest edge of heaven, from where Adonai your God will take you, from there God will gather you in. And if you look in the Hebrew, it says, Im yehiyeh nirachacha biksei hashamayim, and you can see that it's in the singular, not the plural. That it's focused in the singular, and the rabbis pay particular attention, particularly when it comes to the people of Israel. They're often interested in when does the Torah direct the people of Israel in the singular, which they assume means something, and in the plural means something else. Often at the standing at Sinai, when the people are addressed in the plural, it meant that they were not unified. And then, because it says vayachanu, that they camped in the plural, and then right before the giving of the Torah, it says vayichan, that they camped in the singular. And so the rabbis read deeply into that the people were unified, which is how they were able to receive the revelation. And so here too, Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi in his teachings focuses on the power of why this is addressed in the singular. So he says, how can it be that the community of Israel is spoken of here in the singular form? The same question may be asked of the pasuk, Ve'ahavta Adonai Elohecha, you shall love Adonai your God, also in the singular. There one may say that applies to each Jew as an individual, meaning you should love the Lord your God is addressed to the individual. It makes sense there. He says, but from there he will gather you in, meaning God will gather you in. How can gathering apply to a single person, right? This is assumed to be some kind of exile story, right? If we've been scattered amongst the nations, exiled from our land, then we will be brought in. So why is it in the singular? Because you can't be scattered if you're singular. That's what we think, but the truth is, we know deeply. The truth is that a single person can indeed be scattered and detached. No person is really whole. Shekol Adam Eino Bishlemuto, living up to full intellectual and emotional potential. Everyone is lacking in some particular quality. Ki yesh Adam shechasra lo midah echad. That we're all chaser something, we're all missing something. If only they had that one thing, they could be whole. But without it, you are like lacking a limb. Sometimes that which you are lacking is found in some other person, and if joined with that person, you could be whole. That person might be very far from you, but you cannot be whole without them. So let's stop there for a minute. I think it's a very powerful idea that no one is everything. That you were teaching last night that our goal for Yamim Noraim is to bring all of us here. But even Kulchem, that for Nitzavim, at the beginning of Nitzavim, that it says, Atem Nitzavim Hayom Kulchem, that today you should bring all of you with you. But even all of us isn't everything. And how do you understand that?
First, I think the fact that he takes this verse, which in its plain meaning means that we will be brought physically from the four corners of the earth after exile. The book of Devarim predicts here that the people will be scattered eventually, which has happened in our history. And that God will gather us physically into our land, into our place. But here he takes it so much into the spiritual. He makes this a spiritual issue, which is that we will all be gathered into ourselves. And he begins by saying that every person is scattered and detached. And I think we can all identify with this, that we are all over the place, spiritually speaking. We're all over this place. We're broken. We are divided within ourselves. We are ambivalent about a lot of things. We're not whole. We're not in a place where we feel whole and complete. And we would love to be gathered, to be centered. You know, we use that word. We use those type of words, to be centered, to be rooted, to be grounded. They all mean more or less the same thing, to be aligned. They're all approximations to this concept that we all feel very, very much pulled in many different directions, and we don't feel the sense of wholeness that we would like and we aspire to. That's one thing. I know that there's some people who think about the bracha in the morning that says, Teka b'shofar gadol lechirutenu v'kabetz galuyotenu, that say, please God, sound the shofar of your freedom and gather the exiles. That many people also think about it this way, that I may be gathered unto myself in my fullness. So that's one beautiful concept here, one aspiration. And the other one is that even if we do that, even if God helps us to gather ourselves, that no person is complete, and that there are things that we don't have that other people have, and vice versa, and that we cannot be complete. Even if we're gathered, even if we feel whole, we cannot be fully whole unless we join with other people who have the qualities that we are missing. It's a very, very powerful
I think
idea.
also, obviously he reads, the permission to read it so deeply spiritual is because it's in this section about tshuva on the one hand, and also from a Hasidic place, the Hasidic theology is about kind of getting everything back to its roots, and the scatteredness the elements of God that are all need to be brought back to their root and in the oneness, but no one can be full in that, and it depends upon the kahal, it depends upon a collective to make some kind of shleimut. That one, it's a very humbling thing also, I think, to enter into Rosh Hashanah. I think often we think, oh, if I just had that, or if I could just do that, or, you know, if this were only fixed, then it would be all good and I would be whole. But it's a very counterintuitive orientation that he has, which is to say, no, actually, that's not the goal. Anyone remember that famous moment in Jerry Maguire? And she says, what's her name? You complete me, to him. This couple, she sees them actually doing sign language in the elevator, and she knows sign language, and the boyfriend says to the girlfriend, you complete me, and she kind of says that's what she wants. And on the one hand, like, we want to feel complete. On the other hand, like, that there's a sense that no one can ever make you fully complete. We have to have some kind of wholeness collectively to make that possible.
That's the power of community.
Correct.
The power of community, the power of praying in community. We're going to be praying community, thousands of us, in different places, but one community. And I have to say, I had one of the most moving and beautiful sessions preparing for the Yamim Noraim that we offered. I was in conversation with members of BJ who are not physically near BJ. People are scattered. And there are many people who join us Shabbat after Shabbat, Chag after Chag, program after program. We have here
Some here.
Carmen and Emily who come, who live far away. They come a few times a year and they join
Also
us
from
here.
Annapolis.
And so, from Annapolis also. And what these members of BJ were saying about the power of joining us, even in the screen, every Shabbat, in their homes. Many of them are alone, and some of them are with other members of their family or their household. But just the power to join a community. And for us to have the awareness that there are people out there who are part of this. One person said something very beautiful. Person said, you know, we who are out there and are taking these BJ prayers and so on, we're radiating it out from where we are. It was such a beautiful, beautiful thought that our prayers radiate not just from here, but from other places too. It's very powerful, this idea, and that we all have something to contribute.
Yeah, I think also, you know, there's often a lot of, as we move into Yamim Noraim, that we always say, like, come early so that we, not because we don't want an empty sanctuary, but also because the journey that we take together depends upon one another. And that sense also that, you know, we all have different voices. We all, not just the sound of our voices, but we all bring different things to the table, our fears, our sorrows, and our strength, and that sense that also that we help each other be who we need to be. Because of the kahal, it helps me figure out who I am and not want to be in the place of another. It's like when I am in a kahal, I can just own my spot. Like that's the goal, is try to be the best version, what God put me on this earth to be. And if other people are who they are, then we have permission to be who we are. It doesn't mean that we don't have work to do. And I think also there's this notion that not everyone can fulfill all the mitzvot based on, you know, whether you're gender, or based on where you live in the world, or all these things, and that we rely on us collectively to do all of the mitzvot because not everyone can do it. And I love that idea. It's very beautiful to think that we can't accomplish it alone.
It breaks this notion that exists in many congregations, which is the prayer leaders, the rabbis, chazan, do the work, they pray, and people are following, they're spectators, they're following, they're viewers for those who are joining us on live stream. And that's never the case. It can never be the case. We are one community. Everybody has to carry their load for the sake of the klal, for the sake of the collective. Everybody has to try to make the effort to be present, to be holy here, to be struggling, to be praying, and to do their part. Because we all depend, we are not complete until everyone is fully here and brings themselves fully here. So I think this actually marks what community is about on Shabbat and Chagim and daily minyan, and to have this notion that people are standing somewhere on some sort of a podium and everybody else is following what they're doing is completely against everything that this text is about.
It also, I grew up with my grandparents' shul that the Chazan would walk down right before Musaf with the Hineni, the very dramatic. And I remember as a kid, of course, standing on my chair, just watching. But that was actually the act. It was to watch, right? And one of the reasons we don't do that is because it puts all the stock in the Shaliach Tzibor, in the Chazan in that way. Not that, obviously, Ari, of course, plays a very particular, beautiful, powerful role. It's not meant to diminish any person quite the opposite. But it's meant to give every person a place. And the tefillah is not supposed to put all its stake in one person, because we all have a responsibility to lift up our prayers to God and to do our work. And I think also that's what our spiritual leadership team is meant to do too, is each of us have to figure out our spot. We don't try to duplicate the other. The work is, as a collective, rabbis, chazanim, just as with the kahal, to figure out what our unique place is, and that's what we're built on, and that everyone, that's their work to do in the world. And as we move into these Yamim Noraim, I think we're living in very scattered times. We're living in very hard times. And this principle of you can't be whole alone is something that we know to be true, because so many people feel so isolated. And so the antidote to that is showing up and being in community and helping each of us find our voice and relying on one another for the things that we don't have.
And I think that this text, as it says at the last little paragraph, so that even if your exile is at the farthest edge, from there God will gather you. And we all come from our exiles. We're all in exile. We're all broken. We're all dispersed. We're all in exile. And we come from the exile. And for the time that we're here together and that we pray here together, we elevate our voices and our hearts. We are home. We're not in exile. We are home. We are whole. And I pray deeply that we may all show up that way, that we all may come with that intention and show up that way, and for a moment touch a little bit of what it feels to be whole inside, and to be whole as community, and to be whole as a community that is dispersed in many different places, but is synchronized, aligned, centered in this wholeness during this Chagim.
Attached to God. That's
God.
the prayer. So we bless us all with that possibility this Yamim Noraim.